Okay, so this is a video on how to make a fabric cover to go on the back of the Santa chair. See, I got everything all stacked up here. We're going to have to reorganize this, but kind of show off what I've got tools wise. So this is the fabric we're using. We're going to put this railroad Santa Express train on the one side with Santas on it, and the other side of the fabric is going to be Route 66. And a couple of tools they've got here are going to have, we'll see which works best for this. I'm set up on my shop bench out in the garage because it's a big flat work surface. Put some paper down, got some marking, fabric markers, scissors, roller. I'm hoping the roller will cut this when it's said and done. And then the other thing I have is some bias tape. You want to get some bias tape that's complementary to your fabric. I just happen to have this. I made this up for a different project. And so I'm going to use it because it's kind of neutral. And hopefully it won't be too visible in the way. So I'll move all this stuff out of the way for a moment to get down to, what do we have? Fabric. The two fabrics, we'll set those to the side. And you can see the back of the chair. So on my chair, I've made some of these before, and so you can see here there's a second piece of material. I've got this pattern that I made, a hard masonite, a little 16th inch or 8th inch masonite rather, that I've made, and it goes around. And normally I would put the fabric down, put that onto it, and then just cut around it with my roller cutter. But we're going to make this one this time without the pattern to demonstrate how to make it with your chair. So you've got your chair sitting there you purchased from me. I very much appreciate it. And we're going to have how to do the fabric covers. So I'm going to, through the magic of video, I'm going to stop this video and we're going to come back in a few moments with it laid out, ready to cut. Okay, we're back. We've got the table set up now with the fabric down on it. Fabric is face to face because we're going to stitch it up and invert it to make it on there. I've added the piece from underneath the chair. Okay, this goes underneath the seat, and we're going to use the bottom part of this fabric to create a sleeve that goes over that so that the front of your under seat matches the back for the chair. So let's just go. I had to add a couple of things I forgot about. We're going to want some pins, sewing pins, and a tape measure because we're going to have to do some stuff, a little factoring, if you will. And I have pinned to the outside the fabric to hold it from shifting while I do the cutting. So another piece that I added, I have here a piece of 1/2 inch plywood. This kind of a scrap piece I had in the shop. I'm going to use 1/2 inch as my cut line. So we're going to cut around here using the blade. I did do a little test cut over here. The blade does a really nice job of cutting the fabric on this table. So we're going to use that to cut it instead of scissors. If you don't have a blade and table, scissors is going to be fine in order for you to cut your project out. So I'm going to turn the camera over to my lovely assistant and Mrs. Claus, who's going to video this up here a little bit for us. Going to set some things aside. So the bottom of the chair now can be set over here. So there's, depending on what your piece of fabric is, there may be enough material for you to put the bottom under piece on that side. But as you can see here, this being a patterned fabric, it would be sideways. It would just, when it doesn't work. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with a marking pencil. So you can see here that this pencil, I put a gray one, and it marks the fabric well. And I want to outline where I'm going to, the edge of the wood. Okay? Here you can see that on this particular, I had to put two pieces of fabric together in order to get the size. So this pencil mark is half the width of the wood away from the back of the chair. And that's a good thing, because that means that just outside of that, so this is the sewing line, okay? Just outside of that is where the stitch is going to be, and that makes for a nice fit for the chair. So I'm going to mark this all the way around. I'm not going to bore you with doing that, but that goes all the way around the chair, leaves a nice mark on the fabric. Choose whatever color you need to do this. Tape measure is going to come into play because this piece, the fabric has to be cut for this arm tight piece here to be allowed to go over the, not only this, but also the side of the chair when it's sitting in there. And so it's actually got to be cut about 7 inches or 6.5 inches up. Now, I don't want to mark my chair, but that means that this cut line inside on the fabric is going to be all the way up there. So we'll get to that in a moment. So, cutting it out. I'm going to put my gauge here. Oh, we also determined that we want the length of this chair, or this cover, to go just a little bit beyond maybe the bottom of the seat. So it's going to hang from the top, drape down, and hit the area of the seat here. So I'm going to pencil mark the fabric for where that is by marking on the, the bottom side of that. I have a pin here and matching on the other side that says that's the bottom of the fabric. That's where I want the fabric cut. Okay, and the balance of this is going to be for that under chair. So let's see if that pin might be in the way. Okay, so we're only cutting it down to that pin, and then we're going to cut across. So I'm better at pushing the fabric than I am at pulling it, or the cutter. And we're cutting through both of them quite reasonably well. Okay. I'm going to put this here and cut outside of it, straight out. We're just going to cut straight out for right now. Now we've got a loose piece of fabric there, almost. Okay. And cut around the chair, the arch. Again, I guess I'm better at pushing this than I am at pulling it. Oops, my wheel just came apart. Interesting. I don't think it's supposed to do that. At least not when you're using it. See if that's still okay. All right, let's go back to work. So after I've cut this off all the way around, I'm going to move these pins in when I pick the fabric up, or the back of the chair up, so that this stays together nice and tight so we can do some work to it. Okay, so and continue all the way around the chair. Okay. All right. So we're going to stop the video for a moment while I finish this, and then we will come back to removing the back. Okay. Okay, so we've got it pretty much cut out. Moved the excess fabric out of the way. I've added a couple of pins to hold it in place. And I haven't moved the back yet. Okay, so we've got that cut down to there. Now I'm going to move the back, and we'll come back into doing the next part that needs to be done with regards to marking out and cutting this, okay? And also, I will be adding in cutting the piece for the bottom. Okay, so for this next point, we're going to relieve these side pieces, these ears, arms, or something that come down, if you will. It has to be cut back 7 inches in order to clear the side of the seat. So I've got a mark in here about a little over 7.25 inches. And so on both sides, we're going to cut this this arm right here. And I've got a straight edge. We're basically going to just take this line that we've already been working on and bring it straight up to there. And this is going to be where this bias tape comes in. Okay? When this is set up, bias tape is going to be placed, find the end of it, right. Bias tape is going to be placed around a single layer, a single side of this fabric up into here, so that this can slide over the chair. Okay? All right, so we'll get to that. And we're also going to cut the bottom. So we're going to come down. We're also going to cut the bottom. So we're going to come down here, and I have got basically what I wanted for the bottom of the chair. You can see some lines here that I've made for the slot that the seat goes into, and we're going to cut this off. And that should, if my blade was good, pretty close, be able to cut that. Okay. Okay, so we took a little bit of a break here for a moment. I've got the pieces cut out. It's ready to go into the sewing room. I had mentioned that I had to cut this back a bit, and we'll do some work on that. Let's see, I determined where the bottom was going to be and cut that off. So that's sitting there. And this was the bottom pieces. Now, the bottom inside of the chair is narrower than the bottom piece that's underneath the seat. And so it was important to make sure that you left this, wide, if you will, so that we had enough room to do the pieces that go under the seat. And then over there was the excess that came off of the side. So in preparation for this, I took them into the sewing room, and I did, let's move this. So I took the end and hemmed it over, folded in to hide it, hemmed it over so it's got that, and the same thing on the other side. I've got a hem on the back now. So we're going to make a pocket, basically, or a slip cover that this slides into, and that will allow for under the seat to have the same design as what's on the back of the chair. So I've gotten the hem over there. I'll pull this down. This is about how long it's got to be for length, and it can be a little bit long. It's not a big deal. So come over here and determine about how long we want it. Pull it down a little bit here. So I've got a cut mark here. Okay. We're going to cut it here. Fold this back twice. Hem it up. And that will nicely fit in here and set right up against the side of the chair when it's assembled. So we're going to do some sewing, and I'll try and catch some progress as I'm doing that along the way. Oops, I didn't cut this side yet. Okay, anyway, basically it's just about ready to go into the sewing room. So update soon. All right, we're back out in the shop on the big table working on that slip cover, fabric cover for the Santa chair. So I took those two pieces. I pointed out that I had rolled in the edges to create a end, and basically made a tube out of it. And so this tube is set and fixed up so that you can just slide the bottom, the piece under the seat, right out of it. Okay, and it's reversible. When I put these on, if there's a pattern that's got to be face up, you know, right side reading pattern, I put the pattern on upside down to each other. Okay, and the reason for that is if you wanted to switch from these two patterns while you were out on set, all you have to do is loosen it up a little bit, and when this rolls around, it would roll around the tube, or roll around the support, and be right side reading without having to take the whole thing apart and take it off. So basically a tube that goes onto there, slides on well. Those are simple. Probably don't need any instruction on that. But back to the sleeves, the parts at the top of the chair, the back of the chair. So I brought out one that I did years ago. And there is, when we're all done with this and it's together, you're going to have the side that's facing the camera, the side that's on the back, and then, or reversible. But because of the way the fabric is cut and the chair, this is kind of, this right here is a delicate spot that there's just not a whole lot of material to stitch together. And as you can see here, this is worn, okay? Because it's really tight right there to try and get around this. And what this is I'm gonna set it on the chair. So that's that part that goes onto the chair, and you can see here where the side is coming in. You got the back of the chair, and when this is pulled down, this would go underneath there to hold it in place, and this become kind of a weak spot. And I didn't make it quite tall enough to clear the top of that side. So although it, you know, there it is, that's what it is. This is the first one that I made. So we'll abandon that for the moment. We'll come back over to what I'm doing to change it. I'm hoping this works well. So earlier I talked about putting in some bias tape. And on here, I just made my cut that came up into there. This is about 7.5 inches. Let's see. About 8 inches, almost 8 inches. little bit of freedom I'm thinking is going to be okay. We'll find out when the final result goes. You might want to adjust yours based on what I end up with here. But instead of folding over and trying to stitch up and preserve the edge and hem of that material, I put this bias tape on directly onto it, all the way down on what will be the front and the back. Okay? So, as I say, this is now reversed or inside out because I haven't finished sewing around the top yet. So the order of things to get to this point was to hem the bottom. So I did that on both of them. This is the part that's going to be inside the chair. This is going to be next to the seat. So I hemmed the bottom. I added the bias tape to the inside of it. And then the next thing I'm going to do is stitch this together here and then all the way around to form that pocket that sits on top of the chair. You can see I have not yet done the bias tape on that side. So that's going to be next. And that line that I drew on there, this pencil line, which was just a little bit outside the chair, is just about where that bias tape is. So that's a good fit. And then we have our cut line and pencil line for where I'm going to stitch. And I'm going to stitch not, that's not a pencil. I'm going to stitch, outside of that line. Okay, to give a little freedom, but that line is a nice marker, but I'm going to stitch outside of it. This is the sew line, and that's going to give a little bit of freedom for this to be over the top of the over the wood to account for the thickness of the wood. So we'll be stitching it out here. Now if you have a serger, this is the time to use it. I'm going to just go ahead and stitch it, and I do a double stitch and kind of seal it up. So that's the phase we are now, and I shall now return to the sewing room and see if I can't finish this up. It shouldn't take very long. Like I say, I'm going to add bias tape to both those seams on that side, and then this bottom will be done and ready for use. And then I'm going to come back and stitch the perimeter all the way around and get this thing finished up. All right, thank you. Okay, so here's the big reveal, folks. This is what we've been working on. So I got one of my chairs set up here, and you can see that it's got my white one that I used, but I used the back for the pattern, and I just grabbed another back and set it in here. So natural wood white or slip cover. I've already put the under seat piece on there because that needs to be done before you assemble it for final. And this is the one that I pointed out earlier. I used the bias tape on it. Okay, so we've got that running around it. So we're going to put this on, and we're going to use it at the train station. So throw it over the back, pull it down over the front, and we've got those pieces that go on the side. So I was talking earlier about this height of the chair of the side as it goes even back. So you have to account for that when you make your slip cover, which means that the cut's up here. And it's so close that this bias tape helps protect that raw edge. Okay, I've got the back messed up. Okay, so that just sets over the back there, and then we'll go to the other side, pull a little bit to straighten it up. Same thing on this side, and straighten up the front. And that's it. Chair's now ready to use. So there's scent at the train station. So, and by doing two different fabrics, it's very easy to change it up. I happen to live on Route 66, and there may be an occasion that Santa on Route 66 would be the request. So here we have Santa on Route 66, and it was just that easy to change that chair to something else. The back, or the bottom, I pointed out earlier, could be rotated. Now it's Route 66. And this is the reason I put them upside down to each other instead of normally you'd want to put them right side up. So we rotate that around. And Route 66 is the seat. So, thank you very much. I hope that this video helps. There's several steps on there. I hope I covered some of those little nuances to make this work. I think this looks very good. And again, on this edge here, this helps to hold the seat or the cover in place just by putting those ears, shoulders, whatever you want to call those particular parts. Set that to the side. The other one that I showed you, I made it a long time ago. It was I think the very first one that I made. And we'll slip that on here. And you see how rudimentary it was. The idea was there. I was having some issues at the time. I didn't really understand what I was doing. And the idea of the pocket on the side was good. It had to be, the chair had to be loose in order for it to fit in. And that's kind of what it looks like in its best state, unfortunately. So anyway, but the concept was there, and we learned a lot about how to do these. So thank you very much. I appreciate the fact that you supported me in buying my Santa chair and the versatility of it.